welcome back to the Drinking and Talking Fantasy Football Podcast. Good evening, everyone. Dustin Lunt, one of your two hosts for the evening. Thank you again for joining us. Jake Trowbridge, the other host for the evening. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good. Can you say for me right now which of us is the hostess with the mostest?
Well, that's you for sure.
You think I have the mostest?
You do have the mostest.
Okay. I don't know why I needed that right now, but it did. I'm doing pretty solid, man. I'm excited because we are 2 days from kickoff.
Yes. Recording on Tuesday night right now for our audio-only listeners. And 2 days from football, real football, coming back. Oh, I can't freaking wait. I am so excited. I am just going to plop myself down with at least a 6-pack of beer, probably some nachos, and just watch football, and it's going to be glorious.
I like that. Can you leave some of those nachos in my mailbox? The game. That would be.
I probably could. They might get a little soggy, however.
I'll deal with it. My excitement will override the sogginess.
All right. Well, we are talking Week 1 preview here. Little chitter chatter about upcoming Week 1. We'll be discussing some defensive streaming strategies. We'll give you guys a quick injury update here as we're getting lineup set for the Thursday night game, and then little backfield discussion, some of those muddled backfields, see if we can clarify some of the situations for you, and then our start of the week. We're going to be choosing one player only, that we're going to plant our flag on every week from here on out. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we're gonna make you wait though. It's the last thing that we're talking about on the episode, just to make you come along with the ride.
That's right. It's called a tease in the business.
We are a couple of big teases.
I have been told that once or twice in my life, so just holds true. All right, so before we get into the meat of our episode here, first things first, we got to talk about what we're drinking here, especially after that first day back from work after a long weekend. It's always a rough day back, so beers are definitely in order for this evening. So what are you drinking, Jake?
I am keeping on the trajectory that we were on yesterday. So for our listeners, me and Dustin had our home league draft today. Very interesting here because it's a very small number of people participating. But it was still a hell of a lot of fun to do that draft. But I was drinking all Oktoberfest yesterday. But I brought in a new one for today, which is Staghorn by New Glarus.
I love that beer. It is such a good beer. Oh, I know we've said it the last couple weeks, but Oktoberfest just gives me all the warm and fuzzies.
And it is the opposite of warm and fuzzy outside right now. This is the first real rainfall kind of we've had in Wisconsin, or at least in a bit. And it feels good drinking one of these. Now you have something special that you're drinking tonight. What's that?
Yes. I didn't have time to run to the liquor store. I'm just going to say it. So I'm drinking homebrew this evening, and it's just my blonde ale. Good summer beer. Nice and light.
Not just your blonde ale. Blonde ale.
Yeah. Nice and clear. Good blonde ale. So yeah, having that instead of a name brand.
You are a name brand. Don't kid yourself. God damn it.
I never try to kid myself.
Well, then don't kid. All right. Do we want to get into our
drunk trade of the week? So yeah, this one comes in from Reddit this week, from F Fresh. That's 2 F's and 2 H's. I hope I got that clear when I was pronouncing the name.
I think you nailed it.
So this one came in last off season, and All it says is I traded Cooper Kupp for Delaney Walker this year. No elaboration. No saying how drunk this person was. Just the facts.
I think the facts for themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
No, you said last off season.
Yes, last off season.
Okay, so we did some vault picking for this one.
A little bit, yes.
So Delaney Walker is still maybe potentially going to be relevant for a couple of games.
But how drunk did you have to be to get rid of Cooper Kupp, man?
Very is the answer for that.
It really is. This is one of the more lopsided trades I think we've had. I mean, it's so bad. Cooper Kupp's the top. I mean, he was ended number 4 or 5 last year overall in PPR leagues.
Yes, he was very near top.
I mean, and this is after you kind of, yeah. Well, and this was kind of after he fell off too. It's like he could have finished number 1 if he kept on that early season trajectory. So to trade a high end wide receiver 1 last year for a handful of pennies you found in your coat pocket, it just doesn't work for me.
Well, I'll say so. To your point, Cooper Kupp is wide receiver 4 last year. So that's pretty rough. Delaney Walker. The only thing we really have to know about Delaney Walker was 35 last year. So good job. Trading a old wide receiver. Everybody talks about Cooper Kupp, and he's an old young wide receiver. But he's not 35.
Nope. So I will give this. What do I want to give this? I will give this 6 Jaeger shots.
Yeah, I think the person who made the trade needs now. They could use those Jaeger shots now.
Yeah, it's just pure badness all around there.
Yeah, this is have you ever? I know you've done these because we used to run a place around here, the karaoke kid, which did these wonderful hockey bombs as drinks. So it's just sake and I don't know some sort of mixer that desperately needs to be a better mixer. But I'd say there's about 8 or 9 of those when they did this trade.
I'm pretty sure those are just sake with more sake. And they say it's some other mixer because they taste awful. And I don't care how much you've been drinking; they just still taste awful at any time of the evening.
But the vibe of it is so wonderful.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's fun watching those chopsticks go in your shot glass, just falling right in there. It's fun.
Right, because you got to pound this table. It's a drop shot. And and then you just like a game. And then you rise a disgusting shot.
That's right. Well, I think we've talked enough about disgusting shots here. Should we get in to the heart of our episode here?
Please.
So let's just briefly, we're not going to go over every week 1 matchup here, but let's talk about the Thursday night game in particular, just because it is the kickoff game, the marquee game of the week, I think you could say. It is the Texans at the Chiefs. This is going to be a fun one to watch. It should be all offense, no defense to speak of. What's not to love? The defending Super Bowl champs. You got Bill O'Brien and his team that he has constructed the way he wants it. They just signed Deshaun Watson to that huge contract, so he's paid. How do you see this game going, Jake?
I expect high scoring for sure. It should be a shootout by all metrics here. I was looking because I remember the last couple of kickoff games were really low scoring. Because last year Packers and the Bears to open it up the field, and it was a final score of 10-3. And the year prior, it was Falcons and Eagles. But it was like that rainy mess of a game, and it was 12-18. So I got nervous. But then I remembered the last game before that. that the Chiefs were actually playing the Patriots. It was 42 to 27. So I'm expecting much closer to that for this game.
Yeah. And then looking at the rest of the schedule here, I know I said we're not going to go through every single game here, but a couple interesting games I just want to point out that I think would be good ones to keep an eye on and watch. I just think it'll be some good football. Obviously, Packers-Vikings, that should be a good one. I may be slightly biased on that take. We'll see. But I also think Seahawks-Falcons should be a good one. And then the Cardinals-Niners should be a really interesting match.
Oh, yeah.
And I also, the Buccaneers-Saints should be a high-powered, high-scoring game. And then the Sunday night game of the Cowboys and the Rams should be real interesting too. So there's some pretty good matchups on the docket.
I really want to point out quick about the Seahawks and Falcons because I think that might be my favorite game that I'm anticipating. Just because not only because my drinking buddy Matt Ryan to start the year off on a high note, I'm sure. But this is another shootout that could get wild, or we could the emergence of stud running back Chris Carson versus Gurley. There's a lot of narrative, and a lot of different ways to go down. A lot of dudes who can end up with 100-yard games.
Yes, yeah. The question is, we know the Falcons' defense is bad, so their offense is going to have to score. But if for some reason the Seahawks get down, are they going to let Russ cook?
I think
they know he has the talent, so he could do it.
He could do it. He's done it in spurts when he's had to. That's the only time he gets to cook. They make him. They spend the first three quarters beating up the grill, just telling them that he'll finally get to cook, and then in the quarter, the lid comes off and he gets grill.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other thoughts about the week 1 schedule here before we move on?
I have a lot. We have a lot of show to get through. I think it's best if we move on.
Okay. We can always come back to it later if we want.
We can do whatever we want.
That's right. So, new to the podcast this season. This may not be an every week segment for us, but it is new this year. We each chose the best defense to stream this week. Always a lot of options out there. Defenses, let's be honest, it is a position you typically, unless you get one of those elite defenses, quote unquote, but you really don't know who that's going to be year over year. Like Jacksonville, was that like 3 seasons ago? They had like the number 1 defense in the league, just crushed all metrics. The next year, just a pile of hot steaming garbage.
Right.
It happens every year. It was the Bears then a couple years ago. And the next year, not that they were terrible, but they definitely weren't that elite level like they were the previous season. So as much as you want to say, like, oh, just go grab like the Niners or the Patriots because their defenses were amazing last year. Yeah, could they be very good and amazing this year? Absolutely. But chances are they're going to fall off from the paces that they were on last year. So we are pointing out a couple defenses that you should be picking up and streaming this week if you have the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, to all you naysayers out there, I'm sure there are some out there saying what defense people should have their league. Majority of leagues have defenses. And so this is very worthwhile and everything.
Yeah, just be lucky we're not talking about our kickers to stream for the week.
I will do it one of these weeks. Be spiteful if you don't be careful.
That's right. So, Jake, do you want to lead us off here?
Yeah. One thing I do want to point out about this is I tried to avoid those top tier cluster of defenses. Maybe the top 3 or 4 that should be consistent week to week. It would be too easy, and a lot of the time, not going to be able to get those defenses anyways, unless you draft them. So looking at sort of the middle here, the one that jumped out to me is Philly. So I'm toying with the idea you might see some recurring themes with this segment. And I might be targeting about two or three offenses. And whoever the defense is on the opposite side, I'm probably just going to go with one of them. Washington is one of those teams. Even though I like Dwayne Haskins to improve this year, I've talked about it many times in the past. That I think he'll be better than people will be. He's still a year. I mean, he's had half a year to this point.
Mm-hmm.
So he is young. He does not have a ton of weapons. But most importantly, he has one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. So Washington is actually ranked 29th by PFF coming into the season here. Last season, Washington's QBs together took 50 sacks on the season. That's more than individual quarterback all year. So the highest was Jared Goff at 48 as an individual. They added a couple. That's rough. So again, he's still improving. He's shaking up. And this Philly defense is actually pretty stout up front. They actually have a really good front. So PFF has ranked Philly defense 14th overall. So not great, not awful, just kind of in the middle. It's that front seven. So they have Cox, Graham. They had an off-season signing. They got Javon Hargrave from Pittsburgh. So all of those guys, great pass rushers essentially. I mean, you're going to have a whole lot of force coming at Dwayne Haskins early and often. And I don't know, man. I could see 4 or 5 sacks happening in that game.
Yeah, I like it. I that was one of the matchups I was actually looking at too before I decided on my defense. But that was one of the matchups I was looking at. Like, oh, Philly could just kill them. Really? I mean, they really could. So I like that.
And they may have to. Their offense is not going to be probably elite in that first game either.
Yeah, but I don't see Washington's defense being all that formidable this season.
They're not bad. But Philly has a terrible offline too, with a couple of losses that they had here. So that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So my defense for the week is the Chargers. I picked them because they're playing at Cincinnati this week with the Bengals. I mean, you've got Joe Burrow, rookie quarterback. He has no preseason games to even get any sort of like real NFL game speed or experience under his belt. Even if it's only a series or two, it seems to be that your starters aren't getting as much playing time as they used to with the preseason for obvious reasons. You don't want to, set them up for injury. But so rookie QB, their wide receiver core is a little bit dinged up. AJ Green, he had that little minor injury in the offseason. T. Higgins, rookie that everyone's really high on, he's dinged up a little bit with injury. Not sure if he's going to play this week. You've got their offensive line. They've got 2 first-round picks from the last couple drafts that have been out with injury the last couple years. So the offensive line is brand new, essentially, with guys that haven't been playing together all that much. And then the Chargers, I just really like their defense. So last year they finished 14th overall. Which middle of the road. They weren't anything great. They were 5th in pass defense and 18th in rush, and then they were also 14th in scoring defense. Now, I know they lost one of their big-time players to injury here on the defensive side of the ball, but when you look at the talent that they've got on their defense, I mean, they can really get after the quarterback and really disrupt things. And like I said, with just a rookie quarterback, I just don't see a good path early in the season for him to succeed. Give him a few weeks, let him get acclimated to the NFL. Sure, might be a different story once things start to gel, but these first few weeks, I just don't trust him whatsoever. And he still may be fantasy relevant, but I really think that the Chargers defense is going to score a lot of points for you.
Heck yes. This may be the hard knocks bump talking, but I was really excited to see this listed on the show sheet for them. I think there could be some true welcome to the NFL moments in this game.
Yeah, I really wanted to pick the Rams, but then when I saw they were playing Dallas, I'm like, no, that Dallas, that they're too good in offense. But I really do love the Rams defense as a whole this year. So it was one of the two Hard Knocks teams I was going to pick.
You just have to. It's almost a thing to be forced.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other defenses you want to just give a little asterisk of other ones to look at, or you feel comfortable with just these two?
One other if folks are interested, maybe if these two are scooped up. The other team that I'm looking to highlight as an offense and just look across the board at who's playing against them, it's the Jets. So again, especially there's so many players there. Sam Darnold could still have some shaking confidence issues in this first game, and they're playing the Bills. It's probably going to be tougher to get the Bills than these other two teams off waivers, but definitely worth a shot.
Mm-hmm. I like that as well. All right, we'll move on. Do a little injury update. Sound good?
Absolutely.
So we'll touch on the highlights here. We're not going to go through every single skill position player, but we are using Pro Football Reference. They have a great just list of up-to-date injuries or reasons why players are missing practice, if they're out for whatever reason. So first thing we'll start with is quarterbacks. Not a whole lot there really to speak of. Just something to keep an eye on, though. It's Ryan Fitzpatrick. He is out. Very sad. His mother passed. Condolences to him and his family because he seems like the most stand-up guy, one of the most stand-up guys in the league. So feel very bad for him and his family, but we don't know if he's going to return in time for the game Sunday or not. So something to keep an eye on there. Could be two a time earlier than we expect. But for those of you that were hoping for a Ryan Fitzpatrick early season smash, just keep your eyes open for that. And then for running backs, Justin Jackson, he's got a foot issue, but looks like he's probable to play against the Bengals this week. Darrell Henderson has a hamstring injury, probable to play, but he'll probably be active, but with hamstrings, more of like a third string, fourth string role, break glass in case of emergency here. Miles Sanders, he is still dealing with his lower body injury that hasn't been too specific. Likely to take the field. He's probable as well, but again, keep an eye on that in case things take a turn for the worst here. Okay.
What I really want to point out here is Sony Michel. Mm-hmm. So that whole backfield is just in shambles right now. So Damian Harris is on the injured reserve list because he had to have surgery.
Just shocked me. I was so sad about that because he was having a great camp, and I was really rooting for the guy after basically not getting any touches last year, being a healthy scratch the entire season, and then having a great camp from everything that's come out of there, and then this happens. It's like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
And he was going to thrive because they cut Lamar Miller just as soon as signed him, basically. So it was wide open for him. Well, now Sony Michel would hypothetically be the guy, obviously outside of James White. But Sony Michel now probable with a foot. He's working back from the surgery. They say he's going to suit up against the Dolphins. It's going to be really interesting to see if he does, and if he does, how much he'll be used.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everything I've read is that he is coming back along nicely and looks like he's progressed well. So I don't know that it should be a big issue, but you never know, again, with the Patriots, what they're going to be doing with their backfield there. Because you still got Sexy Rexy got James White. I mean, there is still a lot of players there that can touch the ball. All right, so who do we want to talk about next here? Maybe I missed this, but Raquel Armstead, he is out. He's going to miss an extended period of time, it says. He is on the injured reserve COVID-19 list.
That's right.
I was not aware of that. So
James Robinson.
Yes, that's right. DeAndre Swift is still bothered by his leg, so he's questionable. Again, keep an eye on it. Even if he is active, I would probably want to start Kerryon Johnson instead, just based on this news for this week. Or maybe it'll be Adrian Peterson. We don't know. Yeah. We'll talk about it later. That is what we call foreshadowing. Then we got Kenyon Drake, still has soreness in his foot. He'll play. I'm not too worried about him at all in this situation. I think that was just more of a precautionary issue. David Montgomery is out, so he'll be out for 2 to 4 weeks, it says.
Where my Tariq Cohen truthers at.
That's right. Okay, we'll move on. I think that's it for running backs, unless there's anyone else you wanted to touch on there.
No, sir.
Ooh, a sir even. Nice. All right. Tight ends. Looking at the list here, Chris Herndon's probable. So just kind of keep an eye on that. He'll most likely play, but he might be a little bit limited, unfortunately. Travis Kelce popped up on the injury report list this week.
That's a big one.
It is. He is probable, but it says he's dealing with a knee injury.
It's a Thursday night game, which is actually great because it gives you time if he does sit
to pivot.
To pivot early and grab a dude off the waivers before somebody else might get to him.
Yes.
But that's scary.
It is, especially with hamstrings I'm sorry, it's his knee injury. I was looking at a different player. Let's just hope this isn't something that lingers too much into the season. You know, if it's one of those things where he starts to get swelling or something like that, it could really hamper his production this season, which I really hope not, because I have him in the Scott Fish Bowl, and that would just really ruin my chances here.
That'd be rough.
For selfish reasons.
Obviously.
Ian Thomas popped up on the injury report list here with toe injury. That could really affect his playing as far as running routes and getting out of breaks and being able to really push off with full speed. So definitely keep an eye on that for all you Ian Thomas truthers out there. I think a lot of us are expecting him to have a jump up this season in his production. So definitely keep an eye on that.
Yeah, toe injuries sound silly. But they have taken down some fantastic receivers over the last couple of years. So it's no laughing matter.
That's right. All right, then we will finish off with wide receivers, and the list is long. Not that I think a lot of them are necessarily, your superstar studs, but we'll touch on the ones that are most fantasy relevant here. So,
can we talk about Brandon Ayuk straight away? Because really, we should just talk about the 11 San Francisco wide receivers. Most of them are out for the year, and we've known about them. But Brandon Ayuk is questionable with the hamstring. So there's that hamstring word again. It's mild, they say, but it's still yet to be determined if he's going to play against the Cardinals.
Yeah, and questionable, you have to remember that designation is literally a 50-50 proposition here. So it can literally go either way at this point. So definitely keep eyes open for that. And then Deebo Samuel, the other wide receiver there in San Francisco, he's actually probable, and they're projecting him to actually be active and play, after being out with a surgery just weeks ago. So
I hope so.
That's very good news. again, how active and how involved is he going to be remains to be seen, just since he seems to be coming back fairly quickly. But again, all the reports out of camp have been very positive about him playing and looking good in practice. So
it may still be worth. I don't know about you if you think you would do this, but I might consider stashing Kendrick Bourne on my bench if I have space in case one or God forbid both of them can't go.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a good call. Just on that off chance. I mean, they're going to have to throw it to someone other than George Kittle on that team or the 50 running backs they have. So I think Kendrick Bourne as a stash, if you can, is good. So we will breeze past Josh Gordon on the list because I just don't want to talk about him yet. Mike Williams, we all know shoulder sprain, as we saw on Hard Knocks, but it's saying that he's a game time decision for the season opener this week. I bet you he goes. I bet you he plays.
Really? I was going to say I'm willing to bet right now that he won't actually suit up for this first week.
No, I mean you would think against the Bengals he wouldn't have to. If my stream of the week for defense proves true, you definitely wouldn't need him. But
true.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That was just my thought. It was my gut feeling, so I'm sticking with it.
Fair enough.
All right. Cooper Kupp is probable. He's nursing some ankle soreness, but is expected to play. Yeah, I expect him to play too. No surprise there. Deontay Johnson, surprise.
This is very
questionable with a calf injury, and not sure if he's going to be playing in the season opener this week. So definitely keep an eye on that. I know a lot of people had him as taking a major step forward this season and kind of being their breakout candidate for the season. So definitely keep an eye on this. This could be a big one. Who else do we have here?
I mean, there's Alshon. But Alshon's always on the mend in some way, and he's out. So we should know that, but now it's official that he's out. New York Jets, as we alluded to a little bit in the first segment, have a bunch of dudes that are likely to be out. Denzel Mims, hamstring, goddamn hamstring. They say he's likely to suit up. I don't know. It's whatever. Braxton Berrios, you don't really care. Rashad Perryman, probable. Swelling of the knee. They think he'll suit up against the Bills. I don't know. All this means to me is if you have Sam Darnold and you even dreamed about starting him, don't.
But I think you could safely say fire up Jamison Crowder.
For sure.
He's going to get all the targets on this team. Holy cow.
That's goddamn right.
Moving on, Golden Tate pops up with a hamstring injury. Not sure if he's going to play, and that is Monday night. So if you're planning on using him, try to have another Monday night player there available on your bench that you can switch to, because it doesn't give you a lot of time to pivot if you need to. And then all the way down, Preston Williams, he's probable.
And Devontae Parker.
Yes, and Devontae Parker, he's probable as well. I would think both of them will be starting. Doesn't sound like either of those are overly serious injuries. And we know Preston Williams is just recovering from the ACL. So everything coming out of camp is that he looks good, so I'm not expecting a setback there.
Yep. I'm really sad to see Brandon Cooks on here. Mm-hmm. We know kind of about the quad injury, but he is probable to go against the Chiefs. And again, this is a Thursday night player, so it's good to assess these things now.
Yep. And then Amari Cooper still on the injury report with this mysterious leg injury that nobody seems to know exactly what it is. They play Sunday night, so again, kind of keep an eye on that you have players that you can pivot to if you need to, because you definitely don't want to be taking a 0 if he's ruled out at the last minute. And he is questionable. He's not probable, so definitely keep that in mind. Paris Campbell recovering from a concussion, and he is probable. He's been activated from the league's concussion protocol, so he is expected to play and suit up. But again, keep an eye on that. Definitely something to keep an eye on, more of a long-term issue with concussions, because we just don't know. Every person recovers differently from them, so definitely keep an eye on that. Jarvis Landry is questionable. Still not fully recovered from his hip surgery over the summer, so it says it remains to be seen if he's going to be available versus the Ravens. Have any feelings about that, Jake?
It makes me nervous.
I thought he was ready to play from everything in camp. It sounded like...
Well, what's weird about him is I feel like there was not much talked about throughout the offseason with him, and positive or negative. And when it comes to injury stuff like that, typically no news is good news. But here we have him popping up on this report all of a sudden. So it does actually make me nervous because we hadn't got any real positive news along the way.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised to see him on here. And then with Cincinnati, again, with the wide receivers being injured, as I said before, T. Higgins, he's questionable. Not sure if he's going to play. A.J. Green, hamstring. He is expected to play, but again, it's a hamstring injury, so very easy to tweak that again, and especially with his advanced age, we know they don't recover quite as quickly from those, even though he still is in the top 1% of human beings on the planet. So, and then John Ross has an arm injury, but likely to suit up.
Doing John Ross thing.
Yep. And that basically covers it for our injuries. Did I miss anyone you want to talk about more, Jake?
No. I think we did pretty comprehensive coverage of that. I think all those last three names just make your Chargers pick even more solid for a defense to stream. All right, before we get into our next segment where we talk about the muddy backfield, we do have an ad this week. DTFF is presented by Bear Watches. Bear was founded with the goal of building an affordable, everyday wristwatch that blends peaceful design with extreme durability and functionality. Bear returns a sense of dignity to affordable wristwatches and are built to last. Bear is a true American watch company specializing in both quartz and automatic watches. Bear is offering our listeners 15% off if you use the code PODGO15. That's PODGO15. Go to bearwatches.com, VAERwatches.com to learn more and get your new timepiece today.
All right, thank you for that, Jake. So we're going to move into a little muddled backfield discussion here. I know we brought up some of this, teased it a little bit already, but we're going to give you our predictions of who we think you should start and why, or who do you think the better bet is in this backfield. And these are in no particular order by any means here. So we'll start with Denver, Melvin Gordon, and Phillip Lindsay. Thoughts on this backfield, Jake?
We talked about this in our fantasy roundtable episode last week. Melvin Gordon has been a guy that I'm dipping on this entire offseason. I started off not the highest on him, but I thought he would come in and get the majority of the work. Certainly the passing work. And then Phillip Lindsay would kind of be sprinkled in. I'm starting to perceive this as much more of a 50-50 split. And Melvin, the news coming out about Melvin Gordon hasn't been wonderful. So if you're asking me if I'm comfortable starting either of these guys, I would say I would start both as a guaranteed flex. And I might be willing to lead them as RB2s. But they're co-starters.
Yeah, I really think that Philip Lindsay is being undervalued and underrated. And I've never been the biggest Philip Lindsay truther out there. I thought after his rookie season where he came in as the undrafted free agent that was just kind of a fluke season. But then he came back again last year, had over 1,000 yards again. So he has the talent. And I just don't see them totally going away from him. And like you said, the news about Melvin Gordon this offseason, hasn't been great. I don't know, maybe it's the altitude. He's having trouble adjusting to or what. But I think it's really going to be a truly 50-50 split, at least early in the season, until they really figure out how they want to use the two of them. I think they're a fairly safe flex play if you have to use them. But I really want to stay away from this backfield until we get a better idea of who's going to get the bulk of the carries, especially towards the goal line.
From Pro Football Talk, the Broncos officially listed Melvin Gordon as co-starters. Like they said. They came out and said they're co-starters.
So are they going to be co-starters with the first snap of the offense? They're both going to be on the field at the same time?
God, I hope so.
Yeah, until we know more about that backfield and how it's actually going to play out, I'm going to avoid it. And like I said, unless I really need a flex play. So moving on. The Lions, as we kind of talked about here with the injury update, DeAndre Swift has injury. They just brought in Adrian Peterson, why? And then they have Kerryon Johnson.
They did need depth with Kerryon kind of almost wavering here lately. They just need some body there.
Yeah, this one I don't have a good feel for. I have a feeling Peterson will probably get the first and second down work on more drives than we would like, and Kerryon will come in as the third down guy until Swift is back to health. And then once Swift is healthy, I expect him to really take over that backfield pretty damn quickly.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. But this week with that leg injury, I'm not gonna bank. We talk. I'm not gonna bank on being it. I don't feel comfortable starting it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really don't either. And the Lions, who are they playing this week?
The Lions are going to get scared.
So yeah, not a great matchup.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, so stay away from that backfield if possible. But if you had to start one guy, who would you start?
Look, if I have to, I'm actually going to err on the side of goal line. Fortunately, is Adrian right now, and that's still gross to talk about.
It is. All right, so next team I have on the list here is the Bills.
Oh, this is easy.
Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. You're starting Zach Moss?
100%. Sorry, Moss. Look, we talked about this, and I am now a fan. But they've come out lately. It's all in favor of Zach Moss. Blurbs that are coming out about him. I'm very excited.
Well, that's good. I'm glad people are excited about that. I don't quite know how I feel. I think they're going to give Singletary the shot to start with, just because he had such a good rookie campaign. I know there's been the concerns about the fumbles here with the offseason or training camp, I should say. But he is the one that is invested already in this offense. He was there last year. He has the rapport with the offensive lineman, the quarterback. All those things are very important. And so I really think he will get first crack at it. I think if he continues to have the fumbling issue, then it's going to be all aboard the Zach Moss train. But until then, if that happens, I tend to lean towards Singletary.
Would you start Singletary as running back?
If I had to, sure, I would hope I would have different options because I'm still not real confident about it. But I suppose as an RB2, yeah, I would start him as an RB2.
So let's just hypothetically let's do this or that. Let's go back to if you had our Melvin Gordon, Philip Evan Singletary. Are you going Singletary?
Who's Denver play? Just want to look up the matchup here. Oof. I would probably do Singletary.
Yeah, so the Broncos on Monday.
Yeah, I don't like that because otherwise I was gonna say Lindsey in that scenario, but yeah, Titans have a solid defense.
So Singletary. Fair enough. I think that's
okay. Next, very muddled backfield to talk about. We have San Francisco, and this is the same as it was last year. We never know who was gonna get the ball. It was basically the hot hand approach, which I'm sure is going to continue this year. So you're never going to know week to week. But reports out of camp are that McKinnon looks phenomenal, and he's ready just to tear shit up out there. You have the late season star, Colonel Mostert.
Of course, Raheem.
And then Tevin Coleman is still in the mix. So, how do you see this backfield, or who would you be most confident in starting, I should say?
The thing about San Francisco is that I don't as ambiguous as their backfield can be. I think on week one, they have designated somebody a starter. That's an okay thing for week one. Going beyond that, I don't see any of that. So if they get Raheem guy, which they have, then I have to believe that it's most backs back to start. For this game, I'm very confident in most. But I would also feel good starting McKinnon because all those injuries that we talked about, and especially if Debo and Ike and these guys are out, then McKinnon's going to get a lot of targets. So I'd be interested in both of those guys. Coleman, I'd part of.
Fair enough. Yeah, I would, like you said, I would go with whoever the starter is named for the week and just go from there. Again, until we learn maybe a little bit more about what this season is going to look like and we can see how the kind of the game scripts go and everything like that. Yeah, I think that's probably the best bet. Another just ugly freaking backfield here that has way too many questions is Tampa Bay. We've got Leonard Fournette recently signed, who apparently is picking up the playbook very quickly, very intelligent. LaShawn McCoy, you got Ronald Jones and Keyshawn Vaughn. The much hyped rookie early in the offseason has now been basically the forgotten man there on that depth chart. So I feel like it's going to be a healthy mix of Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette to start with. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 50-50 split. Maybe if someone starts to kind of get into a groove, kind of going with that hot hand approach. But, I mean, McCoy, I think he was just brought in as like a veteran leadership piece, maybe to spell for like a third down pass catcher. So it really does come down between Ronald Jones and Fournette, and I mean, they brought him in for a reason. They're not going to not use Fournette, so I think it's going to be a even split between those two early in the season here, and I wouldn't want to start either of them here in week one.
It sucks. I just traded Ronald Jones like a week ago, right before the Fournette signing. Dynasty. I don't have a lot of great backed up on that team. So I'm debating about taking myself start road. Because remember, Arians even after Fournette signing, Rojo is quote our guy.
Of course.
But then I think it was today that he talked about how he was picking up and he had plenty of work. And I hate it.
Me too. All right, and then we'll move on to the Washington football team here. We got Antonio Gibson, Bryce Love, Peyton Barber and J.D. McKissick, who, if I think I remember correctly, I saw a report earlier today that McKissick was actually named the starter for the running backs. So what the fuck do we do with this situation here? Basically, I can say Peyton Barber is just depth. I'm not worried about him at all. So I thought McKissick would be mainly the third down back, and Gibson would kind of be given the reins as the quote unquote starter, with some Bryce Love mixed in there as spelling him. But I don't know, with McKissick kind of given the nod here, and I know depth charts don't mean a whole lot, or who is announced as the starter, it doesn't really mean a whole hell of a lot. But I mean, it seems like you'd want to lean on Gibson since he's had like the really good camp. They did, use good draft capital on him. It was only their Washington's second pick in the draft this year. So they addressed the running back position well before they probably needed to. So that's where I lean. But what about you, Jake?
When you're talking about that JD thing, I think they're fine how to interpret some of those depth charts and who it's the lead back and all that. So this was just Washington put out chart, and then of course the story became his name was named first technically on the depth chart. But it's not as if like these folks come out and been like, JD is our guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a starter, and it was the depth chart. His name was there. That was it. So I think that's a clear distinction that needs to be made. Because if the coaching staff came up behind that, really pumping him up, I'd be nervous and weirded out, I think. But they haven't done them. I still think Gibson is going to be the guy there. I still feel very comfortable starting Antonio Gibson this week. I would if it's a for me, I'm doing that this weekend. At least because it's Billy and yes, we taught how they can accurate enough. But the dude's just going to get targets. I still make up for any deficiencies by the offense and all that. So I'd be rolling him out. I wouldn't start McKissick. I wouldn't start any of the other.
No, me either. All right, Jacksonville. We've got Ozigbo, Robinson, Thompson. I saw a report yesterday on Twitter that Robinson has been shooting up the boards for the high stakes DFS players, which I mean, I take that as, these guys are doing hundreds and thousands of dollars for their lineups for DFS. So if he's starting to creep up their board, that's something I think we need to pay attention to. So there might be something there. I don't know how confident I would be starting any of these guys. Maybe the only one is in a flex position would be Chris Thompson, just because he's going to get that third down work and be the pass catcher. But as far as the other two, I don't know. Until maybe we see what happens here in week 1, I don't know that I'd be confident in starting either of those other two guys.
I think that's fair. I think if you wanted to live dangerous, Robinson is an option to consider. Because the Colts defense is not outrageous. They're not such run stuff that you really have to worry about. It's just a matter of guy came out of nowhere because of injury, how much you put in him to perform there. So I agree with what you're saying. No. If you drafted Thompson, you have to play first. It's the only game you know he's going to healthy for. So you might as well get something out of it. And for what it's worth, I first games of the year started. That was his receiving work looked like. And so if you go back over the last year, when Chris Thompson had started at the beginning of the year, first game 10 targets. This was in Washington. The year before that, 7 targets. The year before that, 7 targets. So fire him up for 7 week and roll him as
Mm-hmm. All right, and then the last one I want to talk about here, it's a little bit more cut and dry, I feel like, than the other ones we've talked about so far. But Miami, there's a little bit of question with Jordan Howard and Matt Breida how that is going to shake out. Personally, I think Breida's going to have the bigger season. I would trust him over. I mean, Howard, he's reliable. He's never done anything to really not want you to start him. I mean, let's be honest. He's succeeded everywhere he's gone. He's been a good player. He just doesn't get the receiving game work that we like to see. And that's why I'm going to take Breida, because Breida is more of a natural pass catcher. And Miami is going to have to dump it off, most likely, especially if Fitzpatrick is out and they start to, as the rookie, there'll be a nice little safety valve there. So it's like I said, especially if Fitzpatrick doesn't go this week, I would fire up Breida over Howard.
Yeah, I don't. And initially, you might their competition for the Patriots, and you might get nervous on these guys. How dominant they were. Remember the Patriots out a large portion of their especially their front seven. So Kyle Van Noy was out, linebackers, Collins, Howard, safeties, Chung and Harmon are out. There's all these guys. So, I don't know. I kind of mind Howard too. It feels dirty.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So, any other backfields you want to touch on here? Did I miss any?
No, I think those key weirdness that you got there.
All right. So that just leaves us with the one thing you guys have been waiting for all night long here. As long as you've been listening, we teased it at the very beginning. We're finally coming around to it. That's our start of the week. So we each picked one player to plant our flag on. Lead us off, Jake, for week one.
Week one start of the week, Jake here. Juju Smith-Schuster. You know him. Love him. He fell off a cliff here. It's unfortunate. I think he's going to be flying under a lot of radars this week. Now, and I had wanted Johnson, given the itch of him maybe not suiting up. Juju Smith-Schuster dominant against the Giants. The Giants do have great secondary. The Giants don't have a good defense in general. EFF ranked 30, so that's just barely not. And Big Ben and Port's coming out of that. He's winging it. He's feeling good. His arm looks fine. He's making all the throw. Now, James is also an interesting. Any of these guys. Johnson start. Still nervous because of decoy. But otherwise, your wide receiver for the Pittsburgh.
Okay, and my start of the week is our boy from Wisconsin, Jonathan Taylor, going against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's be honest, Jacksonville's defense is awful. They have basically no real pieces on their defense right now. And I know Marlon Mack is quote-unquote the starter for week one here, but I think that their defense is so bad that Taylor is going to end up getting plenty of opportunity, and I wouldn't be surprised if he rips off a couple of 60-yarders for a couple touchdowns, because that's what he does. And I think he's going to end up just exploding onto the scene. I think he probably has a little bit of chip on his shoulder for not being the first running back drafted in this class, and I think he's going to go out and prove it this week and just have a huge week out of nowhere.
Except not out of nowhere.
No. That's right. So those were our starts of the week. I hope you guys listen to this and use them, and you win your week because of us, because that's what we're here for.
And if you don't,
That's right. You'll listen to us next week then. This is where we like to give your weekly reminder, folks, to go out and check your waiver wires if you have not. It is Tuesday right now as of this recording. Typically, waivers run on Wednesday. So you always want to check to see who your league mates may have dropped to make room for their waiver wire pickups. Typically, they'll end up dropping players that are just coming off of injury or are injured that may be a week or two away from coming back. Could be a really valuable piece, so definitely check that out. Get your claims in for them because you never know what kind of jewels you're going to find there for players that just happen to get dropped on any given week.
You goddamn right.
All right. I feel good about this episode. How do you feel about it, Jake?
I feel better than good.
Oh, excellent.
I feel good. At least a couple of extra.
Nice. So yeah, that will do it for week 1, folks. Good luck to everyone out there with your matchups this week. Be sure to set your lineups tomorrow. Get in there a day early. Don't wait until the last minute to make those decisions. Get your lineup set. Then you can always tinker later if you have to. But remember, there is Thursday night game right out of the gate here, and you'd hate to have any of those players sitting on your bench here for the first week and start your fantasy season off on a bad note. So until next week, where we will talk about week 2 and possibly recap a little week 1 highlights, we shall see. You can find us on Twitter at Drinking Fantasy, and you can find me on the Twitter at FFDustyDog.
You can find me not pronouncing it Twitter at Jake.
I'm just trying to enunciate here for the folks at home.
I respect it.
And until next week, folks, just keep drinking and talking fantasy football.
Cheers, FFers.